Welcome back to part 2 of the investor webinar. We just saw some really cool improvements from the AC system to even the small things, the lights. And we're going to go ahead and go into this second portion of the video, and I'll let them take it away.
If you're a shy person and you don't like talking to strangers, I got to tell you, this vehicle is not for you because you're going to meet more people than you're comfortable with. And I'm an introvert by nature, and I can't go anywhere without people coming up and asking me about it. And the good news is so few people know about Aptera. Like, there's so much more potential interest in customers out there. And the people that know it, they know it instantly. Like, oh my God, how'd you get this? You know, how are you driving this? Do you work for the company? Yeah, I work for them, I would say. But it's a real, like, you just can't go anywhere without people stopping and asking you about it. And then you find yourself proselytizing about solar power, 40 miles a day, not having to charge it. And it's just really cool. You're going to meet a lot of people.
I love seeing people's reactions. It's a pretty diverse reaction set, but one of the cool things is looking at this picture. A lot of people don't realize that the vehicle is actually rolling on wheels. So, a lot of people see it on blacktop and they can't see the tires, and they instantly think it's some sort of spaceship or floating device. Or
are we back on that again?
Yeah. Our relationship with CPC has grown over the months, and I think it's just been a great way for us to move from our low volume thinking, which was kind of how we started the company 3 years ago. Once we had our first 4,000 orders, we realized, hey, this is probably going to be bigger than our 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 units a year aspiration. We need to start thinking of 50 and 100,000 units. And that's when we started searching, and Coach had a connection with CPC in Italy, and they're just masters of their domain. They make brilliant carbon fiber structures for the world's most famous supercars, and if you go to their facility, you'll just be wowed by all the things they make and how finished their product is. They make turnkey vehicles for some of the biggest supercar brands in the world.
And they don't really advertise that or talk about that, but they are a turnkey builder for a lot of manufacturers. So they not only design and make the tooling, they make the parts, they also assemble the vehicles for a lot of different companies. And Akos did show us a lot of maybe competitive companies, and we looked at them all. And then when they went to go here, he said, look, they won't let me take a picture of anything. It's all confidential. You guys have to come and see it. So we went there, we went to go see it, and we were just blown away. And if you can just look at this picture right now, the one that's on the screen, everything, every little dent, indentation, threaded boss is there for something that's already designed in CAD to bolt into or to set in. So the washer bottle or the brake fluid bottle, et cetera, like everything already has a place in there. It's just going to lock right in with very little muss and fuss.
Yeah, we sent Sandy Monroe to CPC shortly after that, and he got to see how amazing their processes are, and I think he just couldn't stop talking about the very minimal amount of waste you have in the process. It's really just the flashing around this part. Now the little scraggly parts get cut off. The less than 1% of waste in this process, and we came from building these parts as resin infused parts, and there was 20 to 30% waste. So we threw away a lot of consumables.
Plus the consumables as well with resin fusion.
And this is just a process that creates very little waste. The waste is then recycled back into new parts, so there's virtually no waste. And the parts come out rock solid, the same every time.
And truthfully, we always felt like that was, even though we were making the world's most efficient vehicle and it was, solar powered and able to go 40 miles on a charge, we always felt that the resin infusion part of the story, with all the waste of consumables and everything else, it didn't match up with the overall promise of this vehicle. And this process does. Because number one, carbon is made from oil, so it's sequestering oil that would otherwise be burned or used as gasoline or some other thing, and putting it into a structure that's going to last virtually forever. And there's little to no waste, like you said. They collect it and it's all recycled.
One of the beauties of the parts that you alluded to is we get to build in a lot of things. So we can build in cable management, we can build in fasteners, we can build in bonding features, so the vehicle basically clicks together like Legos. You end up with parts that look like injection molded parts at the end of the day. So, this is part.
So I do want to stop it there. The only reason I don't know if you guys caught that, but with most vehicles, even Tesla vehicles, a lot of the cables, you need some sort of clamp, like a hose clamp that clips into the vehicle to hold the cable in place. Most vehicles have that system set up anyway, but this is ingenious. It, like he said, it's going to snap in like a Lego. This thing's going to have maybe, 100 parts, major parts, and some little ones, and then this thing, I feel like people don't understand the significance of this being, this will increase production rate times so fast. You don't have to worry about welding things together or putting clips around a cable, putting the clip in the actual tub. It's all built in. That will make things so much faster and so much more cost efficient. My one thing I want to know is, what is the margins on these vehicles? If they're able to sell these vehicles, the foundation versions, for about 40 grand, if it only takes them 15 to 20,000 to make, because they have so many less parts, and of course I might be lowballing it there's definitely probably some more costs, of course, but still, I'm sure they're going to make tons of money off of this, which is wonderful for investors, and more so for adoption as well. They're able to sell their base model of this for, I think it's $25,000. These things are going to fly off the shelf. Everybody talks about Tesla and the $25,000 compact car. We're looking at it, and it's solar powered, and it snaps together like a freaking Lego. Oh man, this is really exciting. I'm going to let them finish, but man.
Part of the tub that has the low voltage wires that we run through the interior. There's a channel already built, and then on the bottom side there's carriers for the high voltage cables for everything underneath the vehicle. So, I think this is the way. That's the Mandalorian.
It's I don't know what you're talking about. This is actually, it's also a great part savings and weight savings, because for every trough or feature like this that we put in the body, in the tool, there's one fewer clip or one fewer cover that's there to secure a wiring harness or a brake line or something like that. So it's part of an overall philosophy of putting as much of the detail and the structure in the part at design time, so that when we go to build it, there's just very little else that needs to be done.
It's very WWSD, what would Sandy do? And it's it's making parts pull multiple duty, and that's exactly what CPC's given us, as these parts do multiple duties.
You can see even on the right here, the upper right, I think where the top and the bottom can be, this where the cross-car beam plant is. So all this stuff just basically will click and bolt in. It's just beautiful to look at. Everything here, I think some of the indentations in the front are for the air handler.
Yep.
So you see they're all on the same plane. That's where
those
it goes.
little U pockets are where the air handler actually mounts. And then the big hump upside down U is where the pass-through is to the front of the vehicle.
I could have cleaned this out before I took a picture of it. I shouldn't have.
That's okay. People want to know, and they want to know fast.
So you're looking at the light tunnel here. Fabio in the far left. Fabio's our project manager, Fabio Ciampa. He's our project manager there at CPC, and he's in charge of making all this happen at a day-to-day level. He's calling us if we're late with some information or a drawing or something like that. You see Claudio in the front. Claudio has worked for Lamborghini for over 40 years in CPC, building many of their newer vehicles now that Lamborghini, I think, was owned by Audi. And so he brings that level of craftsmanship, him and his team that you don't see, him and his team that'll be doing the first assembly of our vehicles. Enrico there, and of course Thomas Vecchi, who you've seen in the interview.
And this light tunnel is cool. It's had many of the world's most famous supercars pass through it. The little red box with the dot in the middle, that's a coordinate measurement machine that they actually do quality checks on for some of these amazing supercars. But you can imagine, if you buy $1.5 million vehicle, it's got to be well toleranced and look very, very pretty. So we get that kind of precision and expertise with CPC.
What you don't see is our office here in Italy. is on the second. It's the opposite of what you're looking at. So behind this picture, at the second story, they call it the fishbowl, and we can look down on the floor and see everything happening.
It's beautiful and super productive, and all the guys that we've sent over there, just rave about how amazing CPC is. Now we're going to show a video about Fabio.
Yes. Good morning. Why don't you tell us your name and what you do here?
Hi Steve, I'm Fabio Ciampa and I'm the program manager for the project Aptera here in CPC.
And how long have you been at CPC?
7 years, but I'm coming from another experience in Stellantis Maserati that I was working for 12 years.
So that's a really big company,
Yeah.
and CPC is smaller but very innovative. So what was it like? What's it like coming here and coming from a big company, being at CPC?
Because I see in CPC the opportunity to put my experience in here and also to develop other type of experience, making also carbon parts and glass fiber parts.
Now, let's turn over here to the vehicle. Now, you guys were, we were maybe expecting this tub to be done later than it was, but actually this came out of the mold last week.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this whole project in terms of how long you've been on it and where we are in terms of our status in completion.
Okay, so we started more or less 1 year ago. So currently we are in the phase that we are finalizing the CIE simulation for crash and aerodynamics, and also we are making a simulation of vehicle dynamics activity. So in order to have all the suspension also in a proper way. So we will also simulate physically what we have on the result of the simulation later, in order to have the correlation between the two activities.
Now, one of our partners that we're working with, that's helping us with the simulation, shared with us that they'll be able to put that simulation in a drivable simulator.
Yeah.
Have you seen that before?
Yes, because as I said, my previous experience was in Maserati and Stellantis, and we did the same for so the other vehicle architecture that we did in the past. So yes,
So
it's something that I'm familiar.
This will be the first, let's get you maybe back over here.
Yeah.
This will be the first solar three-wheel vehicle that you will have driven in that simulator.
Yeah, the first.
So how has this project gone compared to other projects? Tell me, like, what's the biggest difference you've seen with Aptera, maybe compared to other companies?
The enthusiasm in doing the things. So it's a young company, but with people that put all the effort all the day. So these help everybody in order to reach the target that we have.
Well, you guys have done a fantastic job. I really appreciate all the work in the late hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say it was great to introduce Fabio to the greater community because he's one of the people working behind the scenes every day. And I think it's important for people to know that Aptera isn't just Aptera California, it's also CPC and Aptera Italia. And we have a lot of activity going over there, and Fabio is one of the key players making things happen on a day-to-day level.
He's a super talented guy, program manager, at the highest level, and he's done some amazing things in his career, and now to have his expertise helping Aptera through this is just great. They're really experts at making cars and vehicles, and we're experts on the technology that we're bringing the world here with solar mobility, but really battery packs, solar panels, those kind of things. We've got a lot of engineers here to do that. But
and building companies. I mean, you might think Aptera is building vehicles and cars, but our management team, over half of them have either started or worked at a high level on a startup, and 2 of them have exited. You and Tom, and so I think to think about the activities that we do here best in San Diego, the firmware, the software, solar batteries, and creating and building and running companies, the suspension, the braking, the chassis, all that stuff, it's in their blood in Italy. I mean, they love that stuff, and they're really good at it.
And they've got a world of supply chain, help there too, because they build, some pretty amazing vehicles out of that part of Italy. We wanted to discuss kind of, the separation of duties with Italy and us here in Carlsbad, California. But really, in Italy, they're doing the main body structure of the vehicle. They're doing the frame, the underlayment that holds the battery pack and the suspension. They're doing the die cast, suspension parts and the closures. The closures are super important. A lot of automotive engineers would say a car is nothing but doors designed with the rest of the vehicle kind of hung off them. But the seals for the doors, the hinges, the door alignment, all that stuff is being handled by world-class experts in Italy. And here in San Diego, we're working on what we do best, which is the battery and solar with the California Energy Commission grant help. Electrical systems, high voltage, low voltage, firmware, the UI, the UX. All that development's happening here.
And I mean, there's still a mountain of firmware and software to write. Honestly, even though we're making all this progress with the Bink, we've got a lot of things on the electrical side that we just couldn't finalize until a lot of the mechanical was finalized. And so that's probably going to be one group that begins hiring up, and we start throwing more money at quickly.
Which brings us to our PI builds here. So. Italy's taking care of a lot of the mechanical nature of the PI builds, but eventually they'll come back here, and we're going to have to add the battery pack. We're going to have to add the solar. We'll probably have to add some of the interior and electronics, wiring harnesses, and then get everything working here.
And some of that is still a little bit undecided. For example, it does make a lot of sense to have the battery pack there so it can drive on the boat versus being boxed up without it. But we don't want to be in the business of building packs here and then shipping them there, only to have them come back. So there's still some details that we have to finalize.
But the longest lead tooling item is already taken care of, the body structure. We committed to that 14, 15 months ago now. It's been a long road. It's cost a lot of money. It's really through all of your investment and support that we've been able to do as much as we have with CPC. But now we've got a big check mark by the body structure, and now we're working on the soft tools necessary for these first PI builds. So all the plastic parts and maybe some of the covers, like the inner fender and stuff, maybe soft tooled. Those types of things will have to come together over the next month. And Italy's really good at gathering those kind of resources for us. So they're going to help us get all that stuff over the next month. And they feel that beginning of next year is going to be putting all the pieces of the puzzle together for these first production builds. Then they'll get them here. We need a production intent battery pack. The battery team's done an amazing job at building us a very robust, and the most energy-dense battery pack in the industry. So, we'll put that together and have that ready for the first PI builds, along with the solar team, waiting to finalize some of their designs. They're still refining some of the seals around some of the panels, but once they release those to be built, it's actually very quickly to get some of those seals.
Yeah, and we wanted, and that was just an aesthetic exercise in that the seal function has already been described or designed, but we wanted to see as little of the seal as possible, or someone on a management team wanted to see as little of the seal as possible. But the key thing to keep in mind with PI builds is that even in the early productions, first of all, back up for a second, everything that's safety related or structural is off process and off tool. Those are things that have been designed, released on production tooling. But there's going to be lots of little things, side panels, this and that can be from soft tools, even in production.
And how those PI builds come together, the PI builds mean a lot of different things. They have to serve a purpose. They're not just pretty vehicles or vehicles for validation, for sending to suppliers to adjust performance characteristics and such. And we have a very detailed plan for the first 16 PI builds. And the first 3 we illustrated on the screen here. But the first vehicle is really powertrain testing, electrical systems. And
all of the PI builds were done in a way to, I'd say, minimize the amount of total expenditure. For example, the same vehicles that go through the same group of 3 vehicles that are tested by KW for the suspension, for the dampening and tuning of the suspension springs, then go to E-Ray for the ABS testing. So we're not making 6 vehicles for that purpose. We're taking 3, doing the suspension testing, and then sending it to the ABS company, afterwards. So we're saving money wherever we can. And also, on some of these vehicles, even P11, we're pretty confident that we don't even need the battery thermal cooling for this vehicle, because we only need the cooling in the extreme cases, like the extreme grades and fast charging. So for a lot of the early development that we need to do, some of these won't even need battery cooling, they won't need HVAC, but they're all forward compatible. So once those items are released, they can be retrofit to any of these vehicles, because that's the idea of the progressive production intent.
But we know all of you are really waiting for PI2, because that's going to be the production intent representative pretty vehicle that you can sit in and drive. And obviously we'll probably have a big party here in San Diego when we finish up that vehicle, so people can come and see it, and we can get press on what will be the future of solar mobility. We've made all of this happen with your support. The investments thus far have gotten us a long way. We've raised over 110 million from the crowd now, from 16,000 investors, which is just an amazing number. And we continue to raise good crowdfunding as we push towards production. The accelerator program in itself has raised $26 million. There's only 393 spots left.
I think that's less now. It was that this morning.
So things will get exciting as this gets down to 300 and 200 and 100.
I think once it's all said and done here, and we can look at the history books, I think this will be one of the most capital efficient designs of a new vehicle ever. I mean, we've been able to do so much with this amount of money that in any comparative example that we've seen with OEMs or other vehicles, other companies, it's 5-10 times as much money. So we are both thankful for the investors and the accelerators, but we're also we want to take note of just how much we've done with this money versus anything else that we've seen.
Yeah, most vehicle programs, even modern recent vehicle programs, cost in the 3 to 4 billion, sometimes 5-6 billion. We've seen notable EV companies building pickup trucks that have spent a lot of money to get to production. We're capital efficient in a lot of different ways. The way we build our body structure is capital efficient. The way we've designed our subsystems, and leverage our supply chain is really capital efficient. And that means for an order of magnitude less money, we're able to put this vehicle to production. And it's been with your support that we've come this far, and with just a little more support and working through some of the term sheets we have now, we'll get the final support to get this thing to production in the next 9 months to a year.
Even how we spend money with the spend management.
Yeah.
At a weekly level, we manage a cash flow on what we decide to spend on and not. So
it's definitely been arduous sometimes, the stewardship of all of your capital, but we want to spend every dollar wisely, and we want to make the most of everything we spend. Another way besides the accelerator program where you can help us, the accelerator program for the $10,000 investment gets you one of the first 2,000 delivery slots. But we also introduced this new program, which if you invest $2,000, you can actually get a $1,000 off coupon for your vehicle purchase. So it's a great boon to your investment. It means you're getting a lot more value for that investment. And we think this is something that will continue to inject capital into the tooling and equipment we need to start production.
can print out the your receipt of doing it online and put it in someone's stocking for Christmas.
Great stocking stuffer. I agree. So now we wanted to take some questions and answer anything you guys might have queries about. But anything we forgot, marketing team?
Ready?
Cool. I want to go ahead and stop that there. CPC doing an amazing job. It looks like, if I had to guess, they're maybe just past 25% done with the PI builds, which is really, really exciting to see. Now, I do want to stress, these guys are so open and honest and transparent, and what I like is that even for, it feels like not only is it a company by engineers for engineers, for people who like things like efficiency and want to make the most aerodynamic, the most amazing vehicle possible. I think they're going to shake up the entire EV market as a whole. Nobody's going to be able to compete with them because they're creating something that is purely just efficient. I mean, even their investment, the way they're raising capital is efficient. These guys are going to go so far, and it's really exciting. And I really want to stress, it feels like we're on the team, you know? It feels like even if you're a small investor or you're just hanging around, soaking up as much Aptera news as possible, like myself and others included, it feels like they're talking to us one-on-one. They're taking everything we have to say. They're putting all these improvements, whether it's the vehicle for investment. They're offering all sorts of coupons for us. It feels like they're people. They're normal. And it's so nice to see this. These guys are awesome. And I'm really excited to see where these guys can go. But definitely, if you guys have any sort of want to invest in them, go for it. I feel like, obviously, don't take my advice. I am not qualified for it. But me personally, my money is on Aptera. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, these guys they may be the only solar EV player left. I mean, these guys feels like they're doing everything right. They've thought about every little thing. This is freaking awesome. I'm so excited for them. And thank you guys for watching this second part of the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and put it to part 3 in just a moment. It's going to be the Q&A. Feel free to stick around, but thank you guys for watching this one so far. And man, let's get this video over with. I don't know how it can get any better.